SSB. That is the topic of today, day two of the seminar. On this wonderful Sunday, all of you have been kind enough to come and attend this seminar. That shows the level of interest all of you have. It's amazing, very nice. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So, SSB means Services Selection Board Interview. It is a 5-day process and it is conducted at many centers all across the country, like say selection center for the army, especially your selection center east at Prayagraj, selection center south at Bengaluru, selection center north at Kapurthala, selection center. Uh, then you have at Diamond Harbor for the Navy, and Guwahati for the Air Force, Banaras. Then you have Bhopal Selection Center Central. Then you have Gandhinagar, and many are coming up also in the near future where the SSBs are held. Now, the beautiful part about the SSB is whether it is for Army, Navy, Air Force, or Coast Guard, the SSB remains the same. The training of the assessors remains the same in all the forces. Like all of us are trained together and we are taught the same standard. So whether you join the whether you go for the Army, Navy, or the Air Force SSB, or for the Coast Guard SSB, it is the same standard which will be applied to you, irrespective of where you go. The only difference is minor differences in the obstacle tasks, and also in the Air Force, you have a extra test called the CPSS or uh, the pilot selection system, computerized pilot selection system. So this SSB is a mandatory test which anybody who wants to become an officer in the armed forces has to pass. It is only excused for the doctors and the nurses because the doctors firstly are considered to be in the noble profession, and with having studied for 5 years, they are considered that they are trainable and they can be they are intelligent enough to be officers. Nurses have a minor sort of SSB system, and the assistant commandant in the CAPF, Central Armed Police Force, they also have a sort of derivative of the SSB which is carried out in their selection centers. So coming to the SSB, it is borrowed from the, as discussed yesterday, it is borrowed from the American and the British system which evolved during World War I, and it has kept on improving. So for just point of interest, if you want to become an officer in America today or USA, uh, there are many things like special schools called ROTC. Then you can be a you can join as a conscript as a soldier, serve for 3 years, and then uh, opt for becoming an officer, appear for an exam, and you can get selected to become a officer. But most of them become officers by way of recommendation of their senators. Senator means something like a MLA or a MP. So if you are recommended by a letter of recommendation by the senator, then you are directly taken for the interview to the West Point, and there you are tested and you are trained. So unlike the India where you have the SSB written exam followed by SSB followed by medical, in the US it is direct recommendation followed by a few physical tests and then training starts. Medical tests and this training starts. The all the Commonwealth countries of the world, that is England, all the countries which the British Empire initially was had conquered, and now they have let go. These Commonwealth countries, all of us follow the SSB system. British also follow it, but they have amended a bit over time and made it more modern. We are following the traditional SSB system, and it has stood the test of the time and produced fine officers and excellent officers in the last 78 years of our independence. So SSB is a very time tested and proven system. It is based on very sound psychological and scientific methods of testing, and it has been evaluated and continuously it undergoes uh, improvement and change. So in 1996, before 1996, the selection system was single stage. That is, you go, you give your SSB, there is no stage one, stage two, and you come back. But after the 1992 test was carried out, that too many people are coming for SSB, and the SSBs are not able to handle the load. Therefore, they came up with a system of stage one and stage two testing. So, what is this double stage testing system? So, in stage one, that is on the first day of the SSB, we conduct two tests upon you, that is OIR or the IQ test and the PPDT, picture perception, description, and discussion test. Once these two tests are done, if you are selected, then you are retained and you are made to undergo stage two. Otherwise, if you are not selected, you are sent home. And what does stage two consist of? On the second day, you have psych tests. On the third or the second day, you have interview. On the third and the fourth day, you have GTO, group task. And then you have the board conference on the final or the fifth day. On the fifth day, after the board conference, if you are selected, you are given a fresh new test number for medicals and you go for your medical tests, for which may last around 1 week. For those who are fail in the board conference, they are sent home and a traveling allowance is given if it is their first chance. So after the medical is there, sometimes you may get rejected, sometimes you may pass, sometimes you may get a temporary rejection or a permanent rejection. You can appeal against the decision, and then finally, if you are passed, there is a merit list, and when you are based upon your merit list, you are sent a call letter, merit list and the medical. So finally, you will get your call letter, and that is the only time you know that you have succeeded. Before getting the call letter, there is no success as such. It is just part of the process. So to repeat again, on the first day, you have stage one, OIR tests, which consists of two IQ tests. Then you have the PPDT test. After that, picture perception, description, and discussion test. Those who pass stage one, they are they're retained and they're allowed to continue. On day two, you have the psych test. And on the day three, you have the GTO test, day four, GTO test, interview test anywhere in between, and day five, finally, the board conference. So these are the stages of the SSB. In a flowchart fashion, if you see, same thing explained. Stage one test. So the stage two test like this. So this is what a stage OIR stage one test looks like. So around say 200 people or 100 people report to the SSB, and you are given chest numbers and you are given your breakfast, and then you are made to sit down after your documents are checked, and you are given two booklets. Each booklet contains 40 questions, and each booklet has to be answered in 17 minutes. So 34 minutes, and you have 80 questions to answer. If you there is no negative marking in this, and you are graded as per your score. If you get 70 to 80 questions right, you are OIR 1, first level, then 2, then 3, then 4. And if you score less than 40% marks, you are fail or OIR 5. So those who are fail cannot go to the stage 2, but OIR 1, 2, 3, and 4 may go to the stage 2. OIR 5 may also go if he does very well in the PPDT, which is very impossible or rare. So what is the syllabus of the OIR test? Basic verbal and non-verbal reasoning tests. So there, if you buy any book of the verbal and non-verbal reasoning test, you can go through this and you will be able to solve the pass the SSB, that OIR test. So these are available in any bookstore you go. You ask for verbal and non-verbal reasoning test. You practice it, and that is more than adequate to pass it. Things like mirror image, water image, you know, embedded figures, analogies, figure matrix, Venn diagrams, classification of data, paper cutting, problems on dice, problems on cube, visualizing patterns, anagrams. So these are all reasoning tests which are there available in any book, which you can practice and you will be able to easily pass. Basically, it is an IQ test, so you don't need to worry much about it. It's not so difficult. There is no negative marking, so you everybody does sort of okay, not bad. Then we have after that the picture perception, description, and discussion test. Now, what is the PPDT or the picture perception, description, and discussion test? As the name implies, it is a sort of a combination of psychological tests, the GTO test, and the interview test. So, what is stage one? It is basically a minor SSB. So, what happens here? All those people who are not prepared, they are sent back home. And those who are slightly prepared or good, well prepared, and there is some chance, potential seen in them, they are retained for stage two. So you have the PPDT. It is a mix of the all the tests which will undergo subsequently because it involves psych tests, it involves a GTO task, and it also involves like watching you in the interview. So in the PPDT, a picture is shown to you for 30 seconds, and you have to make out like number of characters, age, sex, and mood. Thereafter, you are given 30 seconds to note down the details of the character in the answer sheet. And then you are given 4 minutes to write down the story. You should have a main character or hero. He should have his friends or authorities whom he uses to solve a problem. Now, the picture which is shown to you, although it is blurred, you will make out that there is some problem happening, or you have to invent or come up with some logical problem which is there, which the hero is facing, and how he marshals resources and comes up with an immediate solution or a jugadu solution, and finally how he comes up with a long term solution so that everyone benefits. So that is how you make the story for the PPDT. And in other words, if you see it simply, it's like what is happening in the picture, what could have led to the situation, and what is the most likely outcome. Okay. So around 80 to 100 words story with a title you have to write, and that is enough for the PPDT. So after that, there is an individual narration. So after writing your individual stories, then you're taken into small groups like 20 each, and a GTO, a psych, and an interviewing officer sit in front of you and watch you do a individual narration. That is, each one is given a chance to narrate their story within one minute each, and then you have a group discussion for 20 minutes where we see how you perform, how you conduct yourself, and at the end, one person is nominated by the group to give out the group plan, which you have arrived at after 20 minutes of discussion. So that is the PPDT test. So after this, we sit down and make your result. And if you have done well in your OIR and if you have done well in PPDT, definitely you will move on to the second stage. But if you have not been able to perceive the picture, your story is not good, your participation is lackluster, you have not done well, then you will be sent back on that same evening. So one of the pictures which comes is like this, that there is an accident happening. Child is lying on the ground. So you have to see number of characters, age, sex, mood. Who is the heroine? Who is the hero? Who would you like? So depending on your, like if you are a boy is the hero. If you are a girl, a girl is the hero. If you are a boy, a boy is the hero. So that is how you make the story. So this is the PPDT test of psychology. It's the same as the TAT test in psychology. And in this test, if you are able to come up with a problem, like here you see a child has fallen, so that is a problem. How it is immediately solved? Like rescuing him, giving him first aid, take him to the hospital, lodging FIR with the police. That would be a first step, immediate reaction. And then in the long term, your hero has to see what led to the accident. Why? Because child is riding on the middle of the road. Why is he there? Where is the traffic police? What are there are no traffic signals? Why is this vehicle driving in a crowded market area? So your hero can then work to alleviate the problem in the future. That is, he will contact the authorities and install CCTV camera. He will install the the traffic lights. He will get a double lane made. He will install a cycle lane. Whatever. Your hero has to come up with a short term and a long term solution. So if you can do that, then your PPDT is through. So even if the picture is negative, you have to make it positive, and your hero has to be a part of that positive change in the story. So you should be able to detect the problem and then come up with the solution, immediate and the long term. That is all that is there to the PPDT. So after your discussion, if your OIR is grade 1, that is you have scored 70 to 80% questions are correct, for example, then you have, and in the PPDT, even if one person has said that you are a doubtful, that means, and two have said no, no, and then you are fail, then you will still be considered pass if your OIR is 1. If your OIR is 2 and one person says no, that is one of the assessors say no, but two say doubtful, then you are still pass. Like that, if 3, then all 3 should say doubtful. 4, one should say yes, and other 2 should say doubtful. And 5, if you are fail, then everybody has to say yes, then only you will pass. So you can make out that OIR is very important also, and PPDT is also very important. In PPDT, your assessment is yes, no, doubtful. That is either you are fully pass, you are fully fail, or you are a borderliner. So D means doubtful or borderliner. So if you get a D, then there is still a chance of passing. So if you do a little bit good in PPDT and good in OIR, you will pass. Okay. So that is how the conference decisions are taken in the stage 1. If you pass it, you stay behind. If you don't pass it, immediately you go back home, because the government does not want to spend time and money on people who have not even prepared for the SSB. Any doubt till now? Anybody?